Welcome back to The Next Big Thing. I'm your host, Jess Todtfeld. Do you or your employees feel like there's too much to do, not enough time, and unfortunately, not enough results? Our next guest says it does not have to be that way. She is Catherine Rocheleau, and she is from Ignite Leadership International. Welcome, by the way.
Thank you very much for having me.
You have done something different. A lot of people fall under the banner of leadership, and they have their various programs. You have tied it into ROI. There should be a return on investment.
Absolutely. Well, really, when you think about it, if you're going to be hiring somebody from the outside, whether it's a consultant or a coach, you want to know that that money is going towards getting you the results you want. You identify what those results are, and you actually need to have that person help you get there. And that's one of the things that I say sets me apart. I'm more focused on the helping you get those results. I'm more flexible on the approach. And so my methodology will change, but the determination to reach those results never wavers.
So do you walk in, you give a 2-hour lecture, and then have a nice life? Is that
Absolutely
how it works?
not. Never.
No, you do the exact opposite of that.
Exact opposite. So most coaches or consultants will ask you questions, they'll give you homework, let you go, and then next time you come back, you report in. For consultants, many times I see people walk in, they'll do an evaluation, write a fancy report, give it to you, and then they, bye.
Bye.
So what happens is, I always say that my work begins once I know what the problem is. So up until that point, I've maybe been the consultant for you, I've helped you identify it, but the key comes with actually getting it done. And if you can't get it done, then you're not going to get the results. And that's where most people's stumbling block is actually making the time or finding the time or knowing how to do it. Think about when you're learning something. When you learn something in school, it's tough. And everybody says, oh my God, my homework's so hard. It's because you're doing something new. Well, that's exactly what I do, is I actually help pull out of you all of your skills and talents and knowledge, and it could be you yourself or it could be your entire team. And then what happens? We actually are able to pull it all out and get the results, and we measure them along the way so we know that we're actually getting there.
And you measure them. That's kind of an important part.
Absolutely.
It's much easier if you don't measure it to just say we did this thing, but this is how you tie it into results.
Right. And that's the accountability piece.
The accountability pieces. These are all big. In fact, the reason why you're on The Next Big Thing is because you have a special methodology. Tell us about it.
Well, I call my framework or my methodology SPARK.
SPARK.
So really, there are 5 basic steps that everybody goes through. So S stands for strategize. And so when you set strategy, you identify where you're going to go. So just for example, if you think that Stephen Covey, he always has preached, begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
Well, strategy is exactly that. Know what it is you want to achieve, then you'll figure out the rest because you have a direction. So that's what you're doing. You're looking for your destination. So then after you've done that, you need to set a plan. So that's where you're kind of mapping things out. A plan doesn't have to be set in stone. It can be modified. Just think of a detour on your way, to grandma's house. It could be that you're detoured around. That's okay. You're still getting to grandma's house.
Right.
But that's what we do in business, and things change. Information comes in, we have to adapt to that. But then once you've got your plan, you need to activate it and you need to get acting. So you have to put one foot in front of the next. And then you want to review it. As you introduce something new, it doesn't always work the first time. So that review is absolutely critical. It could be that staff don't understand, they may not be doing it correctly, so you're not getting the results. So that review process is critical. And the last step is the most important, which is keep it going. You want to have a sustainable system in place so that you get the results that you're trying to achieve.
It sounds like there's a lot more hands-on than is even expected here.
Absolutely, but I find that I actually have a sort of a way that I'm able to work with you, partner with you to get those results, but at the same time, I'm able to help you release me out of the picture when it's right for you. So it doesn't mean that I'm building a dependency. I'm actually saying, there's a term to this. And so when that term is done, you may have a new problem that you want my help with, but we know that there can be an end.
So there are 3 big challenges, you say, that are facing leaders today. Tell us about them.
Well, really, I say these 3 things are that people need to know how to delegate. So if you're a leader, great leaders know how to delegate, which gets people involved and engaged and participating in their vision. The second thing they need to do, and this is probably the one area where non-leaders fail, is they don't communicate.
Right.
And so you have to know how to listen almost twice as much as you learn how to speak, because you got 2 ears, 1 mouth, so that's always the adage. But what you want to do is be hearing people, processing that information, making decisions, and communicating back what that decision is so that everybody can be back on board. So that's the next thing, is that communication. And lastly is really knowing your numbers, and I call that calculate. So I say that the 3 attributes are: you have to be able to know your numbers, so you have to calculate, but you also need to know how to delegate and communicate. And that's what I've referenced actually in my book, The Winning Way.
A lot of people hear you say know those numbers and are really surprised and happy because they are people who live and die by the numbers, and of course all businesses do. But they're hearing that and saying, what, we can tie numbers to these things, so it's not just, hey, I'm a good communicator. It's, let's tell you exactly what to do, and let's be able to track it, which is amazing. We're getting close to the end here, but I want to ask you about all of the personalities that you must encounter. How do you deal with all these personalities and still be able to do what you do?
Well, I think what I do is I treat each person as an individual. I love the challenge and the opportunity to work with each and every person. It doesn't matter if you're the person that sweeps the floors or if you're the CEO or anybody in between. I love working with every level of an organization, and that is the opportunity that I can bring to the table.
How can people get a hold of you, find you, track you down?
Well, they can actually go to my website, which is igniteleaders.com.
Great.
And
we have it on there.
You can actually contact me for a complimentary exploration call, and I can see how I can help you.
Ignite Leadership International is the name of your organization.
That's right.
Catherine Rocheleau, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
A pleasure. We'll have you back.
Thank you. I'll be glad to come back.